Yeah, Game of Pros, we're back. Woo!
Cheers.
How you guys feeling tonight? What are you sipping on, Bird?
Feeling great.
Some Coke and whiskey.
The use.
I got Taco Bell.
I only drink the crisp original Coca-Cola.
Chris is probably chugging vodka in that thing.
It is water.
Coca-Cola. Where you at?
Don't be afraid,
Boy,
Chris.
holla, Coca-Cola. I'm sure a ton of people just started drinking Coca-Cola.
Just because of us.
Just because of us.
You're welcome, corporate America.
All right, guys. Let's jump right in. Taylor Heineke is the future of the Washington football team. Am I right?
No.
I don't know about that.
Who needs Deshaun Watson?
Well, he's a part of the future for at least 2 years, or is it 1 year and then they can pick up an option?
I think it's they have the second year option if they choose to do so.
So I think my biggest beef with all this, and Dennis, I know you touched on this in our chat, was this contract gets reported as a 2-year, what was it, $8.75 million deal for a guy who had started one game in his life.
Hey,
So
a game and a couple quarters almost.
my apologies. He had started a few quarters. I rescind my prior statement. That is double the experience that I had allotted him. My big question here is, why is it reported at 2 years, $8.75 million? Because it sounds like what he's actually going to get paid and what his cap hit are likely to be are going to be significantly lower than that. And they're going to be, roughly what a guy like him should be making, should be paid.
Yeah, the numbers that I had were a $1 million signing bonus, $1 million next year, and then 1.5 the year after that. So it's 2, 3.5 or 1.75 a year, but there are incentives. So if he does end up being the starting quarterback, then that's what we have him for. It's going to be 2.875.
That seems
That's the max that he can make if he wins every game of the season and playoffs. Like, it's not going to reach anywhere near the max. It just, barring some like miracle run.
Nah.
I think the stipulation in the contract was that if he wins every game he starts, they rename it the Heineke Monument instead of the Washington Monument.
That's in the fine print for sure.
It's been disputed.
No, they'll definitely make a statue for him.
So, I don't, the fact that this deal was made, I don't think rules out the possibility that, this Washington football team goes for a trade on the open market, maybe Wentz or Watson, or tries to sign someone on a free agency, or maybe get somebody out of the draft. Worst case scenario, if we do sign someone else, then we have a backup at $1.75 million a year, which is nothing. That's about what backups are paid. Case Keenum right now is making $6 million a year to back up Baker Mayfield. Chase Daniel is making, I think, $4.5 million a year, $5 million a year to back up Matt Stafford. He might be a little bit more involved next year, but 2.375 for a, what seems like a competent backup, or at the very least, a lottery ticket, is definitely not bad.
It's almost like an insurance policy.
Right.
I'm with Michael. I think, I don't think it's anything special. I think they're just trying to secure a backup. And it's like, like Mike said, it's right on par with other backups. I still think they're going to go for a trade, or, sign a quarterback, and even draft a quarterback. I think they'll also look at that as well. But yeah, he's your new Matt Flynn. So.
Oh, Matt Flynn's contract was ridiculous.
I think what Ron wants is an actual quarterback competition in camp. Like he said at the end of the regular season, oh, I wish I had made Dwayne Haskins actually earn the starting spot, right? They practically just gave him, QB1 status week 1. There was really no competition, but I think he wants to make it different this year.
What I had understood too, in reading an interview with Heineke, he said that Ron had mentioned that to him, that he, the starting spot was not guaranteed, that, he's going to have to earn it. And Heineke's used to that. He's been doing that the last 4 years, his entire career. And I don't know, maybe he'll earn it.
I like that approach. Even if they do sign somebody or trade for a guy like Wentz, who, let's be real, Wentz is still a question mark coming off his 2020 season. It still means that whoever the quote-unquote number 1 guy is has to earn the job. Like Chris said, he's not coming in here just giving QB1 reins. He needs to come in here. He needs to put in the work because he is a guy sitting right behind him who's incentivized to start games. Most other QBs are just going to get paid what they get paid, and that'll be it. If Heineke can make more money by playing well and starting more games, then he's going to go into camp and he's really going to put it forward.
So actually, I read something today that I thought it was pretty interesting. And it was, if Alex Smith wants to play again, there would be teams interested in him besides Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I like Alex Smith. I think there's a chance he plays somewhere else if Washington does let him walk, which is probably going to be the case, I think.
That's what this means. This move kind of means that
I liked Heineke too, though. I thought he was pretty good. I thought you guys had a solid shot in the playoffs with him. He could have surprised you guys and made it. If he had beaten Tampa, he would have, I think, probably gone a little further.
It would have gone to the bowl.
Y'all would have gone to Super Bowl, maybe. Yeah.
The fact that they were even talking about this is incredible. So another thing I read about Heineke is the big question mark on him has been durability, and he's kind of a small guy. And he said that part of the problem with durability for a guy like him, undrafted practice squad guy, is that when he plays, he has to put it all on the line, as we saw in that game against Tampa where he got beat up, but he was coming right back and whipping that rock. So he, I thought it was interesting. His comment was basically saying, if I'm given a stable opportunity, I'm not going to be, putting my body on the line every single day.
He has job security.
Mm.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And, hopefully he can figure it out. The reason that he was such a fan favorite and, Patrick Mahomes and everyone across the league is talking about Taylor Heineke as one of the greats is because he played with his hair on fire in that game. And he put on a show, but he paid the price. Was it a separated shoulder or something like that? I hope that if he's not playing like that, that he's still worthy of a starting spot. But, I think he has a good chance of figuring it out. He seems like a smart guy. When he got the call from Washington last year, he was, in school for a mathematics degree. So he's got to have a good head on his shoulders. So hopefully he can figure it out.
Yeah. I hope that, so this area, Washington fans, we fall in love with the backup quarterback. That is our favorite thing to do. I mean, we wake up, we brush our teeth, and then we go look for what's the latest news on our backup quarterback.
We're just ready to be let down by the starter already.
So I'm with Chris where I hope they go into a camp and there's competition. Maybe there's a rookie QB, a high prospect, Heineke, and maybe Kyle Allen, or I don't know, maybe something happens where we get Sam Darnold or something. But I do like the competition. And I guess we got to hope that Ron, solidifies who the guy is. And it's not is it Alex? Is it Dwayne? Is it Kyle? And yeah, I'm just tired of that. I miss Kirk Cousins, the backup quarterback.
I was thinking about that the other day, how much we might kill right now for a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's gonna go out there and he's gonna throw for 300 yards and he'll make some risky plays, but he gives you a chance to win every game he's in. He'll lose a game or two for you, but he at least puts the offense in a position to succeed. And what we were never able to give him as a team, I say we, because sports fans are the team, we were never able to give him a solid defense to back him up. So it's just funny that a couple of years ago, we were ready to see this guy get run out of town, or at least a lot of people were, and now kind of longing for him back. If you're out there listening, Kirk, we'll take you.
I think he wants to come back. Kurt wants nothing to do with us.
Yeah,
You
probably
guys
not.
think
People
he
in
did?
DC call him Kurt.
For the long.
I think I actually just called him Kurt just now. I've never done that before.
It's worse than when Dusty Baker was signed, and the first time he mentioned Bryce Harper in an interview, he called him Bruce.
Oh,
Bruce Harper.
Bruce Harper.
So, I mean, just as we're talking about, Kirk and a guy who stood his ground and pretty much demanded, top dollar year in, year out, and always got it. Now we're seeing some things happening in Houston, right? With Deshaun requesting a trade, the organization saying it's not going to happen. And then you have the news that came out, I believe, yesterday, right? That JJWatt requested to be released so that he has a shot at kind of picking and choosing his team really a month before free agency even starts. And they did him that huge favor in giving him that opportunity, and they released him like under no condition, with nothing in return, no compensation, draft pick, nothing like that. What are we thinking about that, guys?
I have some pretty strong thoughts on this one. I've seen the pundits today trying to tie these two situations together and say that, well, they treated JJ this way, but they don't treat Deshaun this way. There's a disconnect there. And a lot of people are looking at that and saying, like, there's something wrong there. Some people are pulling the race card with that. But when you look at those two situations, they're drastically different for the direction of the Houston Texans organization. JJWatt had a salary cap hit of $17 million next year. So as a fan of another team, one question to pose for yourself is, would you pay $17 million for JJWatt right now? Because that's what you have to do if you trade anything for him. So realistically, GMs know that there's not a lot of teams that are just going to take on a guy who's past his prime for that kind of money. He's going to go quickly because of who he is, but not for $17 million. With Deshaun Watson, for them to ship him out and acquiesce to what he wants, the Houston Texans take on a ton of dead cap money for his signing bonus, for his guaranteed money. They're paying for him to play for another team if they trade him. So I really don't like when these situations get put next to each other and say, oh, they treat one guy one way and one guy another, because when you look at what's best for the organization, and I think it's a terribly run organization, but they have a superstar in their quarterback. They know it. And why would they want to get rid of one of the top three guys in the position?
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that besides, what's best for the team, I think JJWatt's also I think he's chasing a ring. I think he's 33 now. And the fact that they both mutually decided to, cut ties, I think it's not about the money. I think for Watt, it's about the ring. And, there's been a lot of rumors out there, with different teams. And just for my opinion, I think one of them was the Browns. They've been talking about the Steelers as potential landing spots. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Tampa and joins Brady and try to get that ring. Yeah, I mean, it just seems that Tampa would be that team to pick up a JJWatt. And we'll see. I mean, where he lands.
The Texans are 100% a dumpster fire right now. And I think this move, it's them trying to just get some good juju, just they're trying to make a good-natured move to show one of their guys that they drafted, JJWatt, for all that he's done in that community, to show that, hey, we are trying to hook JJWatt up by, getting on whatever team he wants and whatever team wants him. And you can respect that, right? I think in a vacuum, it's a good move. It makes sense financially, but it is hard to ignore the elephant in the room, which is kind of what's happening with Deshaun, right?
They could also just be playing hardball. I mean, they can say whatever they want that they're not going to trade him, but I personally think most people do, that it's in their best interest to trade him. This team is a long way from being a serious contender. They have, a blue chip piece in Deshaun Watson, who's also costing them a ton of money. If they know that they're a few years out, don't waste the last, 3-4 years of his contract. Cash it in now, get a ton of picks back, try and rebuild. And I think it is in their best interest to trade him. I just think that they're not going to do what the Lions did and just say, hey, where the Lions said, hey, me and Matt Stafford are parting ways. Like, everyone send us your offers, because then you're not, the other teams know, they knew they didn't have to pry Matt Stafford away from the Lions. They knew he was leaving anyway. They just had to beat the next best offer. It could just be that Houston doesn't want to go that route.
Yeah. It looks like he might stay. I mean, I don't know. There's not a lot of noise right now, right? That some team is interested. I mean, there's teams where it makes sense, right? Like the Jets that I've mentioned, before, that they have all these assets that they can give up for this, blue chip quarterback. But there's really nothing out of the Jets camp that's coming out into the media, at least, that shows that that's any serious. So I'm rooting for the guy to get out of there, because I think he's electric. He's fun to watch, and he could make a bad team, a playoff contender, such as the team that is in our city.
I 100% agree. I think it's best for the league if one of the best quarterbacks in the game is not playing for such a terrible organization. I just have to pose the question of, if you're Deshaun Watson, why do you sign with the Houston Texans? Let me rephrase. Why do you extend with the Houston Texans? Yeah, sure, they drafted you, but you came out of the draft saying that you're the Michael Jordan of this draft, so there's going to be interest for you. You saw them trade away 2 first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. You saw them trade DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. You heard the owner's comments around kneeling for the anthem about the prisoners running the prison. None of this stuff was a surprise for you. And so I understand that it's a young guy with a lot of money put in front of him, but he could have gotten that anywhere, man. So I'm just perplexed as to why he wanted to stay there in the first place.
I agree with you on all those points, but like you said, when you are in his position and somebody puts, what was it, 135 million on the table, 73 guaranteed, up to 110 guaranteed after a certain point, you're playing the most physical sport in the country, possibly the world. You could get hurt at any time, happened to Alex Smith. Luckily, he was already re-signed. But if in your final year that happens, your career is over, you just missed out on $100 million. So, and I see what you're saying, but if somebody put $100 million in front of you and said you have to go play for the Texans, you would probably do it.
And they get first dibs as having drafted him. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like in most sports, the team that drafts you gets first dibs. They're talking to you about extensions from the moment you're drafted,
Right.
Years in advance. That stuff being negotiated, looked at. Deshaun's, if you guys haven't looked into it, it's really awesome what he does in Houston, in that community. That's a human being that's, building ties and relationships there. I think in hindsight, it looks so bad. Like, man, Houston was a dumpster fire. How does a guy like that not see that and just decide to decline the offer? But you could say back then it's ownership telling him, hey, we're going to get you a left tackle, an elite left tackle in Tunsil. We're going to get you a running game with David Johnson. We believe in him. And, we're going to get you Kenny Stills and whatnot. We're going to, kind of mortgage our future for now. And it just didn't end up working out at all.
Yeah.
But maybe in that room, he was optimistic about where the team was going at that time. And yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, my bad. All right. Yeah. So, whether or not Sean stays or leaves, in your guys' opinions, what do you think? Which team makes the most sense for him to go to if he does leave?
I think we said that in our first episode. I think, right? I think we each had like a prediction. I think it was like Dolphins. It was Jets. Someone may have said Washington.
The Colts.
I say Carolina.
Carolina was the dark horse. I like that one.
Yeah.
Colts make a ton of sense. They're a QB away. They have, I think their total payroll right now sits at like 68 million. They could get him. And then they could sign another 2 huge free agents and make a play for it.
They looked really good with Phillip Rivers in that playoff game.
They have a solid defense. They can go with the right quarterback. They can go all the way.
But what are the chances the Texans ship their guy
trading in
to like their rival?
Yeah.
That's like Lamar Jackson going to Steelers.
We've just been talking about how terribly run an organization Houston is. Maybe they forget that the Colts are in the same and they just ship them off to Indy.
There's a team in Indianapolis?
You mean in the Annapolis?
Like Brady's 4th down call. Forgot all about it.
I thought that's where the combine was, and that's it.
They probably think it's just them and the Titans. There's no way that they remember the Jags if they don't remember the Colts.
Not a lot of people do.
I don't think people in Jacksonville remember the Jags.
Actually, should we shift gears to Jacksonville, talking about what's going on there?
What is going on there?
Can somebody give a quick summary? I saw a picture out on our thread today, but I'm kind of out of the loop of what's
there's a coach.
Listen.
So already Urban Meyer kind of has a kind of ugly history of being surrounded by questionable characters. And there's a coach, I think he's like a strength coach or something like that, who was he was let go by Iowa, a college football team. He was given this like crazy like severance package to just leave. And it was after it came out like publicly that he was just had all these nasty like racist remarks and treated black players like really poorly. So you would think this guy's never going to be a strength coach again for any like major football team. And then Urban Meyer comes out and hires him. And it just starts to raise a lot of red flags. And I believe it was already a red flag that Urban Meyer was hired by Jacksonville without them following the Rooney Rule, which is to, give minority coaches a shot. It's just a bad situation. And I mean, some pretty major institutions are coming out already and saying, this is completely unacceptable.
I think what may be happening is Jacksonville sees what's going on in Houston, and they're not going to be outdone to be the worst team in the league. to get around this and to get that trophy back.
That trophy. We should have a trophy for the worst player in our fantasy football league.
A little one?
Just like a little like a golden frozen turd or something like that.
Get a little golden toilet trophy.
Sounds right up your alley, Los.
Yeah.
If you figure that out.
Got a plastic Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like an awful situation. And for that's the workforce is 70% at least African American. How does a new coach bring on a guy like that and expect the locker room to embrace?
And
the strength coach too, the guy who brought him in, Urban Meyer.
they asked Urban Meyer in a Zoom conference call, and they're like, "So what's up with this hire?" And he's just like, "Well, I've known the guy for 20 years. We did some really thorough vetting." And it's like, if you did thorough vetting, from what it sounds like, you know what's happened and you just don't care. The dude has a lot of accolades as far as being an exceptional coach. So maybe there's some things we don't know, but on the surface it looks pretty bad.
I think he's also just kind of used to running the show without being questioned. No matter how big of a program Alabama is, I don't think the media attention or the expectation from fans is ever going to compare to any team in the NFL. He can't just, he can't do what he wants without being questioned. He's not the, judge, jury, and executioner like he was in Alabama.
Right. Welcome to the fucking show.
So there's the Deshaun stuff. There's there's a lot in this offseason that's kind of touching on management decisions, mostly around Deshaun Watson, but a little bit about, what the Rams are doing, the Lions, just a lot of turnover in a lot of these franchises. There was an interview with RussellWilson that I thought was cool. He's asked about, are you really on the market? I mean, it's Russell Wilson. He's probably a top 5 QB, if not like number 2, number 3. And, Super Bowl winning quarterback. And he's like, to my knowledge, I'm not on the market, but you know what? Like he's like, if I'm not on the market and going to another team, like I need some help. I've been hit like 500 times a year. And then I think he goes on to say that, it's like, why as an elite level quarterback why do I not have a seat at the table with upper management, to help make decisions? If I'm supposed to be the quarterback, the field manager, we should be involved in, I don't know whether he's talking about like picking players in the draft, adding guys from free agency and whatnot, but how do you guys feel about that?
I think right now there's kind of a growing trend in the NFL where players it's moving toward that NBA culture where players can just decide that they don't want to be there anymore. They can, he wants the LeBron James treatment where he can, he's the best player, he's the coach, he's the GM. I think he sees that a little bit in Tom when, with the Bucs in October, when Tom goes to ownership and says, I want to get AB, let's get him. I'll take care of him. I'll take him under my wing. They're like, go for it. I mean, he has that pull. Russell definitely wants that. And it was pretty shocking to hear because he's been kind of mocked in the past for being such a company guy, the like ending every interview, go Hawks and everything. He's all about, camaraderie and the locker room and all that. And I thought he was pretty polite. He didn't go off the rails or anything, but it was shocking, from what we're used to seeing with Russ. He's got to be pretty upset.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mike, on everything you said. I think he wants a say in who he can bring onto the team, because I know I read this thing early on that it said he wanted AB to come to Seattle, and we obviously know he didn't get what he wanted, and AB ended up signing with the Bucs. Would that changed anything? Maybe, but we'll never know. We know AB won the Super Bowl.
Probably just needs the left tackle.
Yeah.
That'd be key. I think that's what really separates a good organization from a great organization, though. The whole purpose is that Russell is supposed to be going out and focusing on playing quarterback, and he's supposed to know the playbook, know exactly what his receivers are going to be doing on every play. The way that it's structured is he shouldn't be worrying about the personnel, because there's somebody who's one of the best 32 people in the world at picking who's going to be on an NFL roster. And it's what's made the Patriots such a great dynasty for the last 20 years, is they've had talent evaluators, they've had scouts top to bottom in that organization. They bring guys on at the right time. They trade guys at the right time. So I think really his comments are just a lot of frustration that it's not meshing and it's not working well together. But I don't know where you draw the line with that, because it all can't work together unless your whole organization from top to bottom is cohesive. And like he can't just take on, and I don't mean Russell in particular, quarterbacks can't do everything. They need to trust the guys around them. They need to trust the receivers are going to catch the ball. They need to trust that their head coach is going to run the ball on the 2-yard line when you have the best running back in the game. They need to trust that the GM is going to be putting the best guys on the field next to them. So I hear what he's saying, and I hear his frustration, but I don't really think it's reasonable for quarterbacks to be as involved as he might want to be.
I agree with Andrew. I'm on the same boat as Andrew, where I just don't think that a quarterback should be in a position to make decisions that can affect years. I mean, when you bring in a guy, you don't bring him in for a couple years. You bring him in for 3-4 years. And for a quarterback to be making that decision, I think there's a conflict of interest there. I understand there's a lot of frustration about getting hit and stuff like that. But it's not like the Seahawks haven't attempted to bring guys. I was looking at, the current lineup, and almost every single lineman was drafted, top 3, top 3 rounds. In the past, they've had, Russell Kong, they've had studs on the line. I think it's more, they've made trades. They've attempted to protect Russell Wilson. I think it's more, receivers. It's the way they the plays that they draw up, they take too long to develop. And so Russell has to always get out the pocket to just, make a pass. So I think it's more than just the line. I think it's more, the way they draw the plays and stuff. They got Tyler Lockett going, just running straight down the sidelines. And now they have another guy in what's his name?
Metcalf.
Metcalf. Metcalf, doing the same thing. They need somebody that can catch those balls in the middle of the field, a tight end, a stud tight end or something. I don't know. But
it's
that's
definitely
my
the scheme.
take. Yeah.
So like with Deshaun, I mean, the initial report, I remember coming out, he was, I guess, promised that, hey, this offseason, you're gonna have a seat at the table and you're gonna help us rebuild this organization. And then like a couple weeks went by and they didn't hit him up at all about like the coaching hires and who was going to be leaving and coming. And it was just a nightmare. But with Russell, I agree. It looks like the scheme from our point of view, I feel like, where, that run game is not very consistent, and you're relying on DK and Lockett to go, make these huge plays down the field. So I don't know. I'll take him here in Washington.
I had seen rumors about him going to the Jets.
Everyone's going to the Jets.
Everyone is getting traded to the Jets. They're going to run
Deshaun.
quarterback system.
And and going back, I mean, even I was looking at the cap space. There's just the Seahawks. They just can't make moves, and I don't know what Russell's trying to, what he wants the Seahawks to. I don't know. They would have to cut Tyler Lockett to make some cap space. I mean, they would have to make a really serious move to pick up.
Some big decisions coming up.
A Brandon Scherf or Joe Tooney. Like, they would have to pull some strings to get a good linemen.
Right. So guys, we're wrapping up, but I would be behest if I did not mention a dare or a bet that someone lost.
Yes.
When are we gonna see that thing go, man?
I was one of those fools that betted against Brady. Like Clacky said, you never bet against Brady. So yeah, it's going tonight. So next show. Yeah, tune in to the next show.
30 seconds.
Might as well just start it now. Just real
if
quick.
we had time, I would do it now. All right, fuck it. All right, we got 30 seconds. Let's go.
Oh, let's go. Run. Oh, snap.
Here we go.
Snap. This is going to get us.
His nose off.
This is going to get us to 1 million views, guys. Oh.
He's.
Oh!
Thank you, Tom Brady, for this moment.
Thank you, Tom Brady.